Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Sunday, happy St. Patty's Day for those that are out there celebrating. I hope you stay safe. Hope you have a good time. What this video is going to focus on is another list video because that's what I do. A lot of the people that I follow and friends that are into music have large collections of certain artists in their collection that take up a lot of sections of their collection, and I think that's great. That's cool. That's really knowledgeable about that artist. And that me, I've always said I like to have a variety. And as I've gotten older and I'm really filling in spots with my collection, I'm trying to achieve a real variety. However, there's lots of bands that I have more than others of in my collection. So that's what this is about. I was curious which bands occupy the most spots in my collection. Spots meaning studio albums and live albums, and really not compilations, really, if you look at this list. So I'm going to show you guys. I was curious, and it didn't take long to look at my Discogs list and figure out which bands occupy how many spots. It was simple to do, but it was fun, and really not a lot of surprises for me personally, but there are some that stood out, like, oh wow, there are 4 bands / artists that have 7 selections in my collection, and they are Depeche Mode, probably not a surprise, Bruce Springsteen, Led Zeppelin, and Linkin Park. I have 7 of their releases in each case in my collection. All right, so getting into the real meat of the collection is 3 artists, bands that have 8 pieces in my collection, starting with Triumph. Been a fan of Triumph since I was a kid. This is The Sport of Kings, kind of an underrated Triumph record. And I don't have all of Triumph stuff in my collection, but I have the core of their stuff in my collection. They occupy a spot at 8 pieces in my collection. Triumph. Next up is Ozzy. Kind of not a surprise that Ozzy's in my this list, but a little bit to me is a surprise that he's not higher. But I have 8 pieces of Ozzy's output in my collection. This is Speak of the Devil, a real cool live Black Sabbath songs from Ozzy in my collection. So he has 8 pieces in my collection. Another band that I'm a little bit surprised that, but when I was into them, they were real big back in the day, and then they kind of disappeared. They've been gone for a long time. And it's Van Halen. They had 8 pieces. This is 5150. My favorite and only Sammy Hagar Van Halen album in my collection. All right, moving on to artists and bands that occupy 9 spots in my collection. And starting off with City and Colour, the only one of this entire set that I'm going to show you that there's no vinyl. It's all CD. City and Colour, the way it is. I only have his vinyl outputs. This is a very cool live City and Colour output. So I have 9 pieces of 9 releases of City and Colour in my collection. Next up is Oasis. Again, another band that I have all of their stuff in my collection, both vinyl and CD. This is Be Here Now, an album that I replaced from CD to vinyl when I had the chance, and Oasis with 9 pieces in my collection. Next up, U2, another band that I've been a fan of for decades, literally. This is All That You Can't Leave Behind. Another album that I had on CD for a long time, and I switched to vinyl when I had the chance, and really good. And I have a mix of CD and vinyl of U2. They occupy 9 spots in my collection. Here's one of the oldest bands that I've kept in my collection since I was a boy, since I was a kid, since I was a teenager and got into rock, and that's Maiden. I've had this Live After Death in my collection in vinyl form for, oh man, as long as I can remember. And I also have this particular album in CD form as well. It's so good. It's one of the greatest live records ever created, and it is Live After Death. And Maiden holds this spot down at 9 different releases in my collection. I mean, Maiden's made a lot more than 9, but there's 9 in my collection. Next up is I don't know if it's a surprise. It's a mild surprise. Coldplay with 10. This is Ghost Stories, one of my favorite Coldplay records. I also have this in CD/DVD format, but it's a really good record. And Coldplay is a modern band that I've always been a big fan of. Got into them with 102.1 The Edge, listening to the radio, and then my son. So Coldplay, Ghost Stories, 10 different pieces in my collection. Next up is another old band like Maiden that I basically grew up with, and it is a record that I've had forever. Judas Priest, Defenders of the Faith, had since I was a kid. And Priest hold a spot with 10 currently, but about to be 11. Kara was nice enough to order me the new Invincible Shield. I've heard nothing but great reviews about the new Judas Priest record. I'm sure it's going to be great. The new stuff that they put out is good, but this is classic Priest. This is Defenders of the Faith, and they hold a spot at, we're going to call it 11 because I'm about to get the new one. Next up is another band that I grew up with, and the only band on this list that has nothing but vinyl. I don't have any CDs of AC/DC. It's all vinyl, and they hold a spot at, I have 12 of their vinyls, and this is Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Had it forever. It's such a cool record, and yeah. Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, AC/DC at 12. Next up is Rush. So I have 13 Rush releases. Bit of a mix, mostly vinyl. I have a few Rush CDs now. If I included the DVDs and Blu-rays in this video, they would blow everybody out of the water. I've got a ton of Rush live DVDs, but we're talking about album releases, and this is Rush Exit Stage Left. It's a my favorite live Rush record, and I have 13 Rush records, mostly vinyl, a few CDs. Rush, not a big surprise to me that they're high in my list. The second most in my list is Foo Fighters. I've been a big Foo Fighter fan since almost the beginning. And this is In Your Honor. It is a great Foo Fighters release. And this here is a one of 14 Foo Fighters releases in my collection. Yeah, big Foos fan. Why not? They're a great band. And the top spot in my collection is the Hip. I have 15 Hip releases, mostly CD. I do have the odd special release on vinyl from the Hip. Big Hip fan. And they're my number one band, I guess you'd say that. Yeah. And yeah, so kind of interesting when you look at this list and video. So it goes from 7 across my collection, with the most being only 15, the Hip. I mean, there's people I know that have, dozens from the same artist that puts out a lot of bands or a lot of releases, like a Neil Young or a Grateful Dead, those types of artists that put out so many releases, and that's cool. I think that's cool. For me, this is a definitely illustrates my my style of collecting, which is a real variety spread across a lot of different rock acts, and I dig that. I think that's cool. I don't think that's going to change for me. And my next video, it's going to be very, well, all these videos are about my own interest in that, but I was very curious. I looking at my records, I love, you know, the center label of records, the vinyl, the center label, and I'm going to pick out and show some of my favorite center labels that have some uniqueness, how the artwork to it, or, you know, I'll show you guys. So that's going to be my next video. It's going to be kind of fun to pick these out of my collection. And there's a lot of cool ones. So yeah, like and subscribe if you haven't yet and you dig my stuff. And yeah, I hope you keep watching, and I hope everyone's good, and see you again soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.